Hey everybody, and welcome to this True Wealth Radio segment right here on KWLM. I'm your host, Jared Sebesta of Taatjes Financial Group, where we build purposeful retirement plans. At Taatjes Financial Group, we help you steward your life and your money. We build highly customized retirement plans, and we have the tools to make sure your life, your money, and retirement have purpose and impact. If you'd like to set up a no-cost, no-obligation meeting so we can help you begin your purposeful retirement plan, give us a call. Our number is 222-4236. You can request a meeting online at taatjesfinancial.com. And if you're in the neighborhood, just stop by our office. We're located right on 19th Avenue Southwest in Wilmer. Our office hours Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. Again, if you're in the neighborhood, just stop on in. We can help you begin your purposeful retirement plan. Well, thank you for joining us on the show here today. We sure do appreciate you tuning in here today. Ben Taatjes joins me on the show. And Ben, we've been talking about the Secure Act 2.0 now the past 2 weeks. This is the third week, and we're going to cover kind of the third part of this. But like we did last week, maybe for folks that didn't tune in, let's talk about what the Secure Act means, kind of what has happened in legislation and how this affects retirees.
Yeah, so the Secure Act, Secure stands for Setting Every Community Up for Retirement Enhancement. And that was originally passed in 2019. And the Secure 2.0 was actually passed in the final days of 2022 here. So now in 23, we're kind of seeing some of these changes and kind of digesting them and just looking at how they can best apply to our clients, retirees, and today, more so even to people that might be younger and saving a little bit more.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Roth IRAs. We're a huge fan of Roth IRAs. Before we do that, we've talked about new distribution rules. We've talked about some new accumulation rules. By the way, we've got a brand new website, taatjesfinancial.com. Go check that out. If you miss those shows and want to listen to them in their entirety, there is now a spot where we house all the archived radio shows. So go check that out. But Ben, just give people just maybe just a super quick review of kind of what we talked about the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so the first week we talked about the RMD age changing for 2023. That was significant. So a few years ago, they moved it from 70 and a half up to 72. Now for 2023, it's the RMD age will raise to 73. So again, that's when the government says, hey, you have to take some money out of your retirement accounts. So that was kind of one of the significant changes on distribution. The accumulation rules, they kind of made some additional catch-up contributions. So if you're somebody over age 50 in the past, you've been able to put a little more money into your retirement accounts. Now they've actually extended that a little bit higher for those over age 50 in 2023. Move that up, and then also kind of have what we're calling kind of this super catch-up contribution for people ages 60 to 63, starting in January 1 of 2025. So I just threw a lot of numbers at people, but again, remember, go to our website, talk to your advisor, look at the IRS guidelines, but there are changes, and that's what we're trying to do is make sure you understand there are changes that people need to be aware of so they can start planning properly.
Again, we've got a whole blog listing out all the changes, and also you can go back and listen to the couple of last week's radio shows to find those out as well. So let's talk about today, Ben, getting into some Roth revisions, I guess. Would that be the best way to say it?
Yeah, I think it's just making the Roth IRA more attainable and adding some interesting changes to allow people to get more money into Roths. The first significant change when it comes to Roth rules is the 529 to a Roth. So starting in 2024, pending certain conditions, individuals can actually roll a 529 education savings plan into a Roth IRA. So this is really interesting if your child happens to get a scholarship or maybe goes to a school where they didn't need all of the monies that you've been saving in the 529, you can actually kind of reposition that money to retirement accounts for them. So I think it's a really interesting thing that is something that I've wanted for a long time. I think it's a great change.
I feel like they've loosened up the straps, so to speak, on the 529s, where they've given people more options to use that money. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, I mean, a year or two ago, they started allowing you to use it for private school, up to $10,000 per year. And now we see this change. Again, I think they want people to be saving for their kids' education. So for grandparents and parents, a 529 is a great way to do that. And oftentimes a question I get is, what if we don't use it? What if we don't end up using it? Wouldn't we be better to do something else? Well, the answer here is that, subject to some conditions, of course, they can put some of that money from the 529 now into a Roth, which I think is a win-win.
It's a great way to jumpstart a child or a young adult's retirement savings and kind of get them going to college as well, and gives you more options. So I think it's great.
Yeah, I think one thing to remember is those rollovers, if you'll call them that, are subject to the annual Roth contribution limits. And there's little nuances to the rule. I think it's important that you do talk to your advisor, or again, look at the actual rule to make sure you understand that. So that was a significant change. Certainly that was for the benefit for those people owning a 529 plan.
All right, so what's the next one?
Well, I think this is something that for years, people that have small businesses have wanted. So if you have a small business and you're not quite ready to step out into the full 401k world and offer that to your employees, maybe you've offered something like a simple or a SEP. So a simple it stands for Savings Incentive Match Plan for Employees, which essentially typically looks a lot like a 401k as far as how money goes into that account, and usually there's a matching contribution, but it's able to be set up for much smaller businesses and a much more affordable option. Typically, the fees are lower. It's just simpler, hence the name Simple. But again, now going forward, the significant change is that owners of simple IRAs can now contribute into Roth, into those simples. So there's still a lot of rules coming out on that, and there will be some new guidelines later this year. But right now, we know that from 2023 onward, employers will be able to make Roth contributions to both simples and SEPs for small business. So I think it's a huge positive change.
That's interesting. The last change has to do with 401ks and 403bs.
Yeah, I think really what this was just kind of a merging of rules more than anything. It just kind of aligned the rules for Roth 401ks and Roth 403bs with what we typically saw with Roth individual retirement account rules. So from 2024, the legislation will no longer require minimum distributions from Roth accounts in employer plan. So again, significant in that it makes it maybe a little bit simpler for us to follow, but it kind of aligns those rules together, which I think will help as well. So I think all these changes that we saw in the Secure 2.0 as far as how it relates to the Roth are very positive things. Like you said, we're big fans of the Roth IRA. The way it's taxed, the way it's not taxed, right. I think it makes it a huge benefit for many taxpayers, and we like the changes.
Well, again, let's fast forward to the point where somebody now wants to start really getting aggressive and planning for an upcoming retirement, maybe 1, 5, 10 years down the road. These changes come into play with that planning, because that's where kind of the rubber meets the road, so to speak. So just take maybe the last minute of the show and talk about that planning process with respect to some of these rule changes. Yeah,
I think something that many retirees see in retirement is when you're dialed in and you're trying to really manage tax brackets, you're trying to make sure that you're withdrawing your retirement savings in the most tax efficient way, right? I used to do tax returns, Jared, and I used to see all kinds of mistakes like, well, why would we do this? Why would we do that? Well, many times what we find as being a very helpful strategy is that clients will have both significant monies in retirement accounts qualified, and that will need to be taxed, but will also have Roth IRAs. And when they can take money from those Roth accounts in those years where they've already filled up a tax bracket, and they can be more flexible with where their income comes from, it can be a very powerful planning tool. So more options are better there. I think if you're certainly planning for your children someday, and a lot of retirees say, I'm never going to spend this money, my kids will. Whole nother discussion there. But those folks, if I'm inheriting funds someday, a Roth IRA is far more powerful as well, because I won't pay tax either. Right. So lots of reasons to at least consider the Roth versus the traditional, and lots of things to be excited about with the Secure 2.0 and making these changes that will make more people available to put money into their Roths, either from 529. Again, they're simple SEPs. I think it's a good change.
If you want to get started with your purposeful retirement plan, or have questions on your current retirement plan or the Secure Act 2.0, now is the time to give us a call and get your questions answered. Our number is 222-4236. You can request a meeting online at taatjesfinancial.com. And like I said, if you're in the neighborhood, just stop by our office. Again, we're located on 19th Avenue Southwest in Wilmer, building purposeful retirement plans. More information on our brand new website, taatjesfinancial.com.
Securities offered through Avantax Investment Services. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Avantax Advisory Services. Insurance services offered through an Avantax affiliated insurance agency.